Now I'm mostly just starting to try to like think like, oh no, don't catastrophize it. Like really try to like think through the what the ramifications might be for what you've been noticing about the Pacific Northwest and the way that the way that things are going. So now you have Democrats taking over, especially legislatures. There is a big plan to turn California more and more red again. Good luck. I do think it could be done. I actually do. It depends on what the Republicans really concentrate on. Yeah. But solidly, though, there is now this something that's going on in the culture on the West Coast that it's like the cultural revolution that like was it Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, how it said that it gets to like the Rocky Mountains, splashes up against it, and the tide rolls out. Well, now what it is no, the cultural revolution, it just took more and more and more time, and it kind of flooded over everything, and then it came, and now it's flowing back into the sea, and detritus is everywhere now. And this is all that's really going to matter, is that the Gen Xers, I mean, I'm about to be 50. There's only so long that people who kind of remember sort of things should work like this. There's a point at which you're going to get people who it's never worked like that. It's never functioned properly. That society is, that they've gotten glimpses of it. They've visited someplace. They live someplace. But slowly but surely, everything became poo-poo caca. It won't matter that a lot of people don't like that. They don't want to believe it. We on the nationalist right side, and we were able to just keep showing it, like how we've been decades ahead of the school violence, and now we're way ahead on a lot of this stuff that's actually genomics-based issues around health, mental health, crime, things like that. We were ahead. We were decades ahead. You guys were behind by decades. We've been able to, that's why we won, and that we've turned an entire generation away from a lot of kind of liberal bullshit. That's fundamentally. And now it's this issue of that there's still sort of this part of the population that wants to believe they could kind of have something like, oh, hey, check it out. They're hanging out. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Oh, you can see the hidden colors. See that blue stripe there? Whoa, look, whoa. Look at these two, just cold chilling, having a good time. That's great. Duckies. My duckies. And so anyway, that's great. I have a feeling that's a sign. I'm going to take that as a sign. That's what I'm doing. I'm presuming that's a sign to me from God. It's like a butterfly. Is this God, once again, telling me how much he likes me more than others? I'm going to go, yes, it is. But I've had actually a good solid windfall of sorts that I'll hep everybody to when it all comes together. But basically, the tariffs have worked in Donovan's favor. And gold pricing and the true value of. Oh, there we go. That was something I had read. Gold price, and I had to remember that. I was like, if I was to discuss gold, then I'll remember this that I was reading from Cantillon. Was okay. Cantillon gets into this thing in his essays about what makes something the value it actually is. And said that it's the labor and the actual land from which it's derived. The reason why he gets into this is because when you have any of the logistics part of where something is made, the actual things that you have to extract from the earth and or grow that to make it, things like that, that gives everything its own price, its own costs, and its own logistical issues. So there will be, you could have two types of fine cotton cloth, but it is that there is something significantly different about one than the other in the market. And it could very well be that it's just that the labor weaves the cloth better in one case. And so another is that it might be that they just have it's harder for them to obtain the material. And so the cost of just the logistics. So they have the weavers. It's just that getting that material there. So therefore, maybe those weavers, they're better at weaving hemp or they're better at weaving wool than they are at cotton and fine cotton cloth. Like, that's an example. So you might have something that on a piece of paper, somebody would say, no, but they're both cotton cloth. They'd say, no, but this one's from Belgium and this one's from Italy, and here's their differences. And it's that the Belgians make it, they just make a kind of notoriously high quality cloth. So the thing that I've determined was one of the things that came out of this at that time. And so this was the thing I started to think about, was gold versus the dollar. The dollar it does represent, because we're paid in dollars, it represents, well, your quality of labor is worth this much, and that totally then is dependent upon actually like where you live. Like where you live will totally change the rate at which you're paid. So it's like the location of where you are. And of course everybody would say, yeah, but there's other prices for the laborer to live there. But still, it's just, and that's the logistics of living there. Where are you getting your stuff from to feed the labor? And Cantillon would point out, like, he's like, oh yeah, well, at one other time, this would be the same problem. And he would point out, like, yeah, you could have a place that grows, a certain kind of, say, flowers or something. Well, but the problem might be is, where do you get the wood for the laborers? And that's what Cantillon would be arguing, would be like, yes, you see, that has to do with the land you're making the product on. The Northwest, the Pacific Coast, you guys got problems coming because of this issue of the aging of your workforce. Then, what is the value of the place? The rate at which secure document destruction. The rate at which gold is rising, other prices are rising that laborers they require, but especially housing. There's no way this is going to work. At some point, you will have to lose quality labor to places that the price is lower for them to match fundamentally the rise in gold, because gold is real money. Gold is a fundamental decider of and the value of American labor is being grossly outpaced by the value of gold in comparison to the dollar. I'm still rolling this over. I know I'm missing technical terms. There's terms I don't know, but I'm foreseeing a real problem coming because we're not seeing much of a break in what it costs to make the houses. And then on top of it, being houses are made of wood, and wood floats like a duck. So, until there's some big break, and then we have the labor issue in making houses, the raw labor. And do you actually have the laborers who can make a house? If you were to make a house, would there be anything impeding you? Oh, there's lots of regulations and there's lots of fees and taxes on doing it on the West Coast. And there's a lot of restrictions on what you could build and what kind of house you could build. So at a certain point, just even it might not be worth it because the price of gold keeps rising. And I know there's going to be people are going to be like, that's so dumb. I mean, what does that even mean? Bruh. Some Hassan-like person, that kind of dead face, like zanned out or something, slightly zanned, maybe on a little shrooms, whatever, dude. Bro, what is it? Gold. What does it even matter? And that's, of course, what we're counting on. All of us who we keep being right about everything, we're counting on, at some point, the price of gold is going to matter. People are going to suddenly learn this. Just like now, everybody's learning you have to have children. If you don't have children, then there's not a reason for you to have the school. And I keep I think I keep walking through this because I think there's something I know I'm missing, and I'm not, But yeah, if you don't have the kids, why have the schools? If the schools are not worth it, why are you taxing people on their property? But that's what keeps the mayor in a job. and also we think of it like that. Well, you got this much taxes out of all the fucking chumps in your town. It said, yeah, aren't I a great politician? But where are the children to fill the schools that you're taxing people for? As the West Coast becomes more and more and more of a child desert, as a lot of constituencies in blue enclaves keep taking on this idea of worshiping demons, that's one that I really am thoroughly enjoying, that now younger people are seeing, that they're like, why would you do this? And it's like some poster about queer, trans liberation, but what are you seeing? You're seeing demonic seals, was it like from the clavis of Solomon, or something, the key of Solomon, there we go, the clavis Solomonicus, I believe is what I was thinking of, is the old way people would talk about it, so they're saying in Latin. They're talking about it in Latin, and you see, sir, that makes it totally legit. This is not bullshit. This is not just a bunch of scribblings on a piece of paper. This is extremely important demonology, which actually I don't doubt, because it's carried on for too long among smart people. So I'm like, no. There's something to this. What it is, I don't know. Like mystical practices I don't understand, that's why I don't do it. You can learn that it seems like it doesn't do anything, or you could find out what it does by error, So, somebody was pointing this out, like, look, why would you do this? Why would you associate yourself with, kind of demonic things when you want people to kind of take you seriously, like a rational person who's presenting rational arguments? The lack of ability to go through rational argumentation. Another one that now we're finding out. Harvard has to remediate their students to go back through high school math. And they get out of Harvard and they can't think. And so now it's this, and that we're starting to see, oh, but how are they so successful? Well, it turns out, maybe it's that they all kind of are in a club because of their alumnus status, and that we are forced to pay for them to have jobs because of their specific alumnus status. And, so now it's, something's going to give. And it's already starting with these mega layoffs. No. Somebody's got to build the fucking house. Somebody's got to start building that railroad to Anchorage. Somebody's going to have to start taking that fucking weight. I lift 50-pound boxes of chickens. Like, they're going to stop making boxes, and like heaven's going to stop allowing chickens to reproduce. That's how much fucking shit I lift every day. And there are millions of people that they're going to learn that skill. They're going to lift that fucking weight. Oh yes, they are going to lift that weight. They're going to get strong fucking backs. I'm in school for advertising and marketing. Yeah, well, at some point, somebody's got to get that shit on a shelf. Somebody's gonna, I know, big idea guy. You're a big idea guy, but don't worry. At some point, you got to drive a nail. Inevitably. Everybody's got to pick up that weight at some point. You're going to take that weight, Space Cowboy. So, I'm just now at this stage where I'm just like, no, I'm not. There's too much unexpected stuff coming. Too many unexpected things. I was not expecting to be able to get a device, a decent device, for a third off of the price. I was not ready to hear over the last few months. It pretty much proved China does not have 1 billion people. In fact, it has about 700 million, somewhere around there. And that now we're all starting to realize that even their whole structure is not, they can barely manage it. How do you police that many people? That was one of the best things I've ever heard when somebody pointed that out. So just start thinking about this. How many cops do you need to police that many people? We're presuming the Chinese don't commit crime. We're presuming that. And when you know enough about communist China and you've like married one of those women and you lived there for a decade and stuff, then these people, they're like, yeah, well, we've been there. We've been there, done that, and here's what the real deal is with it. And now that so much is becoming disclosed, now the UK looking up, you're a minor who thinks that you are in the wrong body. Now they're going to test you for autism. Why? Because everybody knew that's what it was. We've known that for over a decade, all across the internet. There's studies that would come out that would show that these were two things that correlated like almost not 0.9%. Something crazy like that was, or 0.2, 0.9 correlation. I was just like, God damn, like that's crazy. So this isn't even really an issue. Oh, well, no. It's gotta fake it. People gotta be phony. Gotta do it. Gotta be phony. And so a lot of the fake it till we make it part of the economics, that's drying up. And nobody's coming out of this looking fabulous. Just like Chris Duane said, there's nobody coming out of this all on fabulous mode. In fact, even now we're seeing the people now who, the whole thing is that they're podcasters because their kind of schemish way of doing business dried up on them as the economy's starting to shrink. Remember, nobody counted on there being less children. Everybody said that was a right-wing myth. where there's so many humans, we're just falling into the sea. Oh my god. They did, and we were like, no, that's not even remotely accurate. And what happened? Talking that shit. Talking that dumb shit. That Malthusian environmentalist dumb shit. And so now time has passed and we were right. We were right. You were wrong. Wrong. And it's cost you most, for the blue enclaves, it's pretty much cost you all the beautiful places that you used to be able to go. Cost you most of your large public parks. Was it Portland or some guy? Is it Portland or Seattle? Guy just keeps showing up and building like a castle or something. He builds his own home in the builds a log cabin. Builds a log cabin in the park. Holy shit. Yeah, so it's we're thoroughly enjoying being the guys who are right and continuing that tradition of being correct when the left isn't. But it's just that I guess the thing that's what hit me is the other day I was sitting at work and it just suddenly occurred to me that I'm like, yeah, this is what it is. You are the demand is over. With 500,000 fewer freshmen entering college, and how the way we make sure they're spending money is by going to college and starting to especially just take on debt. Because this has been such a tried and true method, this no longer working changes the nature of how wealth has to be achieved, how entire regions of the country are going to have to operate, and Washington raising tremendous amounts of taxes because they're going to be billions in the hole. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. See if it works. Something's gonna give. All right, later.